Today, EchoBase Network has one of the most important interviews that we have done in this reckless bin bricks and minifigs controversy. Chrystal Law-Gorman and Benjamin Gorman are here. Chrystal is the former Salem Bricks and Minifigs owner. She's the person who made the consignment agreement with Bryan Mansell. And she's the person that Bricks and Minifigs Corporate has repeatedly pointed to while framing Salem as an isolated incident. But after today's interview, it's impossible to ignore that this story is bigger than one man's Lego collection, even though that's important. This is about what Bricks and Minifigs knew, when they knew it, what really happened when corporate took over the Salem Store, and whether Chrystal Law-Gorman was made the fall person for a much bigger corporate problem. BAM has made public claims about the consignment agreement, the money, the inventory, the value of the Mansell collection, and what was supposedly left inside the store when Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson came into the picture. Bricks and Minifigs has said Chrystal entered into the consignment deal as a personal, local arrangement. They have said corporate did not authorize it. They have said Salem was isolated. Today, Mr. and Mrs. Gorman respond, and we go straight into the questions that people have been asking for weeks. What did BAM's public story get wrong? Did corporate know about the consignment? Who had control of the Mansell LEGO collection after Chrystal lost her store? What parts of the franchise agreement have been broken by Bricks and Minifigs corporate? And does what happened in Salem connect to a larger pattern that people are now calling franchise churning? This is the interview a lot of people have been waiting for. And after having over a 2-hour-long interview with Chrystal and Benjamin, I can tell you this: there's a lot more to this story. Mr. and Mrs. Gorman, thank you so much for joining us here at EchoBase tonight. We're really pleased to have you guys here. And we're going to get right into it. We know that there's ongoing litigation, so we're going to ask you questions. And, we understand if there's something that you can't answer, that's fine. Just tell us. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. You're the former Salem Bricks and Minifigs owner. You're the person who made the consignment agreement with Bryan Mansell. Your store was taken over by people connected to BAM Corporate, and now Bricks and Minifigs has publicly kind of framed this as an isolated incident tied to one former franchise location, yours. So I want to start right here. Everybody's been asking this question: what happened to the parrot when you guys left?
So yeah, the parakeet. I did not have room in my car for his cage. I did not have room in the car for the cage. And they could have messaged me or called me at any point to say, hey, come back. You can come back and get him. Instead, we were told, you're not allowed to come back. You cannot come back to the store.
Wow.
They said, you can come back tomorrow morning. I went back the next morning and gave paychecks to the 2 employees because payday was every Friday. And I said, well, what about my employees? Are you going to pay them for the week? And they said, no, you can come back and drop off the checks, but then you can't go there. And I knew that the 2 employees knew how to take care of Taddle. So I thought, at least there are still people there that will take care of them. And then if they don't want him, I presumed they would reach out to me. But in those first few days, it was, waiting for a call for corporate to go through the inventory. And then when that didn't happen, frantically trying to find an attorney. And it was simply a matter of there's no way to take him that night. I couldn't fit the cage in my car. Yeah.
So what ultimately ended up happening with the parakeet? Where's the
we don't know.
We don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't know.
Which is sad. I mean, that is one of the things she's talked about that she's, regretted from this whole thing. Is if only we could have figured out a way to get the parakeet out of there. But,
right.
The night of, we were just shuffled out the door.
I mean, I know. I believe it was Josh that said that he dropped him off at a rescue. So there are, I hope so, because this was in November in Oregon. Cold and rainy weather, and Taddle had his wings clipped, so could not fly. And so I know there are several people that are working on reaching out to the various rescues in the Salem Kaiser area to see if they can track it down. I'm currently trying to find the receipts that I had from when I purchased him to see if I can actually find those the number from his little foot band. If not, I need to go into the pet store that I got him and see if they still have that record.
Okay.
I'm not a big guy, and I wouldn't trust Josh Johnson as far as I could throw it. So, like, you know, if he says that, you know, oh, the bird is fine, everybody should remember that's Josh Johnson saying the bird is fine.
All right.
Yeah. I prefer to continue believing.
Yeah, you know.
I would prefer to continue believing that.
That's one of the questions that we want to ask you eventually down the road is, have you had dealings with Josh Johnson? Because everybody knows that you've dealt with Brandon Best. He's the one that came into your store, but, you know, what dealings have you had with Josh Johnson?
I've never met him.
Never met him.
Spoken to him.
And so that's one of the things, and that's the reason why I think I have that antipathy towards him is here's a guy who we've seen on video, you know, talking smack about us. He's never met us.
I've never
decided,
spoken to him.
I'm going to throw these people under the bus.
Yeah.
So I resent that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say that the whole missing parakeet thing, that sounds like that's going to open up maybe a whole new YouTube investigation. Like people hear this, like people are now going to be like, we want to know what happened to parakeet. People are literally going to probably start searching.
We get that in the comments.
But that's also the thing is in Oregon, that's a crime. If he either released it into the wild or worse, it's a crime.
Yeah.
So,
like, and his whole, he made a claim that he got rid of the bird because it was like flying around, crapping on all the Lego. And I'm like, he had his wings clipped and the most he could do was flutter a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and we put Duplo blocks in his cage because he loved to play with them. Is that what he's talking about? Like,
not believable.
I would like to remain blissfully believing that Taddle has found a lovely new home.
Yes, move to a farm upstate.
Yeah, we're going to start a new thing, justice for Taddle.
Yes.
Need it. Absolutely. So this entire controversy that's happened, you know, we spoke before the interview started here that it's blown up and you guys weren't sure. You've been embroiled in this whole controversy for a couple years now.
About a year.
But the rest of the world's catching up.
Yeah.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
So
there were times early on where we thought there's no hope because we couldn't even find an attorney.
Yeah.
The attorneys would tell us we were in what they called the donut. And the donut is it's too big for small claims. So it's not under $10,000, but they're used to cases that are millions. And they were going, okay, a store, you know, it's in between. It's not worth my time. And so we had they said, oh yeah, the law's on your side. This is very straightforward to us, but it's not worth my time to fight it. They're just going to drag it out and it's going to cost too much money. And so we thought if we can't find an attorney, there's nothing we're ever going to be able to do. And so if it weren't for Reckless Ben, nobody would have paid attention. We just would have lost the store.
Right.
Well, finding an attorney in Utah.
Then we had to find an attorney in Utah.
We found an attorney in Portland fairly quickly.
Although she did say this is too expensive.
Yeah.
This is, you're not going to be able to afford it.
But then she, after our first kind of letter sent to corporate requesting that inventory in the meeting and the arbitration and all that, she was like, yeah, you have to find an attorney in Utah.
And boy,
that took a while.
We were living in Spain. So we're trying to find an attorney in Utah, via email. And then eventually we're calling places, and we're so glad with the attorney we finally found. She's excellent.
She's fantastic.
But it took forever.
She was not expecting this to become what it is.
No. Yeah. She was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take this. This will be small.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad all that worked out for y'all. So, looking at everything the way that it's happened, what's the biggest lie or omission or misleading statement that BAM has made about this situation, or what is the public getting wrong?
He's so
well. I'm interested to hear what we may have different lies because they've told a lot of lies. So what's your first one? I'm curious.
You're so gleeful to hear what I think it is. I think a huge part of everything that's going on right now with Ben and Bryan, for me, it is this claim that it was a private local consignment agreement. Mm-hmm. For me, that is the argument that they are kind of basing all of this on, that I wasn't allowed to do it that it was a private agreement between myself and Bryan.
Right.
I suspect where corporate got that belief from, because they pulled out from the Salem email account the rough draft of the consignment agreement that Bryan had emailed to me. And in the rough draft, it has my name listed, but just my name. And I went back to him and said, the agreement, in order to be covered under the insurance and all of that stuff, needs to be between the LLC and you. And so all corporate had, when they started with this whole private local thing, because they never reached out to me to ask, hey, do you have the actual signed one? The one that Bryan and I actually signed was between the LLC and Bryan. Now, and so there's a couple different factors to their whole, statement about the private local agreement, right? It's a legally binding contract.
Yeah.
Between Bryan and BAMF Salem 1, the LLC, that corporate sold to us when we purchased the franchise. Corporate had that LLC, and that is the LLC that we bought and operated the store under. That is the LLC that when corporate terminated our franchise agreement, the LLC that they took back. And part of the termination agreement, part of the franchise agreement is, if corporate chooses to terminate the franchise agreement, they assume all assets and liabilities of that location. So any other argument about whether I was allowed to do it based on the franchise agreement, which we've all seen the franchise agreement, it's right in there. The franchise disclosure document also has consignment arrangements are allowed.
Paragraph 1.
Yeah.
So any other argument of I wasn't allowed to do it based on the operations manual, which is not a legally binding contract, that I've also never seen. I have never seen the operations manual.
You're breaking news
never
right
given
now.
to me. I'm not. I've said this before.
Have you shared this?
I've shared this before.
They never gave it to her.
It was never given to me. And
Wow.
So you were trained by corporate as
That's an interesting little question too.
I never went to corporate's franchisee training.
They sent her to management training because she was the manager of the store.
They sent me to management
that
training
was recently enough.
a year before. So I started at the store as an assistant manager. Within 2 months, they flew me out to Utah, promoted me to manager, and fired the current manager. So I did a week of manager training in Utah at the corporate offices when I first started.
Yeah.
And then a year later, when we purchased the franchise, you're supposed to go through the discovery day where you speak to all the other franchise owners and you go through their franchisee training and you do all this. And I asked them, like, do I need to do that? And they said, well, no, you came out for the management training and you've been running the store for a year. Like, you already know all of that stuff. At that point, I had already driven up to Canby on my own and visited the Canby location and talked to David, who was the owner and like daily operator there at the time. And they were like, we don't really think you need to go through and spend the money to fly back out to Utah to do that. So I've never seen the operations manual. I never went through their training that they're claiming would have told me it was against the rules. So this whole thing, their whole reason about why Josh is, I didn't sign the agreement, so I'm not bound by it. Corporates, we didn't know about it. It wasn't allowed. All of that gets lost under these very basic facts of that was a legally binding consignment agreement between Bryan and the LLC that corporate then repossessed essentially that LLC, leaves them liable if they want to take the assets of the store to offset whatever debt we owed them. They also have to take the liabilities. And within the franchise agreement and in franchise law in general, it is the responsibility of the franchisor to do their due diligence. To do their due diligence and go through the store and find out if there are any outstanding liabilities. Had they done an inventory, third-party inventory? Had they called me or emailed me and said, hey, this guy is here. What do you have for that? How were you doing this? I could have answered any of those questions a year and a half ago. Those are all choices that they made.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like the biggest lie in all of this is the notion that they never had any responsibility for that. They knew about it before I signed the consignment agreement. They repossessed the LLC and are legally bound for any of the liabilities owed by it. They had clear inventory. Bryan's list was in the email. If they can get the consignment agreement from the email, they can get the list from the email. All of those things, everything just shows me that it appears to me that they made choices in the last year and a half to not do what the franchise agreement says that they were supposed to do. And any other deflecting onto me is they're trying to kind of, it appears to me, to muddle the basis of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Bryan had a legally binding contract, and it was corporate's responsibility to enforce that contract. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and I mean, we even saw in the video, the first video released by Reckless Ben, when on the Ring cameras that you got, where you told them, "Hey, I need these tickets. I need to know how much to pay him," and they're like, "This is a business matter." You know, well, so I mean,
corporate assumes the liability.
Yeah,
and one of them made a statement in a different video. I don't recall which one, saying like, yeah, she mentioned the consignment, but we didn't really know what that was about. The thing that I don't have the video of is the previous conversation that I'd had with Kai about an hour before that, where I told him I need to be able to do an inventory because all of the stuff in the store is not mine. And we had a conversation about the consignment. Brandon and I sat in that store while we were waiting for corporate to send the termination letter. And I talked to him about how we identified Bryan's consignment sets, the yellow stickers on the back, the white price tags on the figures, the 2 inventory items within the POS that we were tracking, when we were paying them out. We had conversations about all of that.
So they knew all of that.
And in that clip that we shared, if Kai on the phone or Brandon on the phone had no idea what I was talking about when I said that, it seems to me like the logical thing to do at that moment was, if you don't know what I'm talking about, to say, wait, what agreement?
What consignment? Right. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, we know. We'll take care of it. Right?
The reason they said, we'll take on that liability is they knew what liability they were taking on.
So they're trying to paint a picture saying that this is you're the fall guy, you're the scapegoat here.
Yeah.
You're operating on your own self-interest, because this is personal. This is outside of Bricks and Minifigs corporate. This is not a business thing. You're operating outside of that, making this a personal thing outside.
Private agreement.
And that's
private.
Where, I don't know if this is our judgments of BAM's lies overlap, but mine
inaccuracies.
Mine is biased. I get the most frustrated when they are trying to make it sound like she wasn't doing a great job. This store she was building these amazing relationships with these customers. She was building this store. She was putting her blood, sweat, and tears into this business as the day-to-day manager. And she didn't take a salary. Like, she was, doing this work and investing everything back into this business, and was doing well enough that they were recognizing her value in a whole lot of different ways. So they were saying, hey, we need somebody who can, be an expert about this. Will you go over to this place and look at this collection and evaluate it for us? Not, oh, this is somebody that we don't trust. It was, this is our rock star on the spot. Let's send her out there to check this thing out. Or they were, saying, oh, hey, everybody, we're at, the what's their conference, BAM World. Hey, here's, you got to meet you got to meet this new manager. She's doing a great job, right? So they are acknowledging she's doing well. And the thing that is so frustrating is they want the public to now believe that the store was, they'll describe it as like being a mess, and you can see the video.
Failing.
They're rescuers. They're store rescuers.
Don't trust your lying eyes. Yeah. Like, people can see in the video, the store was clean. The store was well run. The store was And once folks realize that, they'll realize, oh, that's a pretty good motive to steal it. It was doing well, right?
I mean, I have a whole string of text messages between a previous corporate employee and myself when I was acting as manager. Every week or every month that we had good sales, I would text her, or she would message me because I was consistently increasing our sales as manager. Right. And we even have Kai on phone the night. I don't like to talk good about it's uncomfortable. Compliments.
Understand.
But it frustrates me when they're trying to make it look like she was doing a bad job. And I guess the thing that is particularly frustrating is people will say like, oh, her record keeping. And I'm like, okay, well, at the end of the year, she would have done this really meticulous inventory.
Right.
But they came in November.
In the middle of it all.
Right. They jump in there. Meanwhile, they are legally obligated to provide an inventory if they take over a store, and they never did. So if somebody wants to look at who's doing a bad job of their business, BAM has never provided a line-by-line inventory, which means their record keeping is a year and a half late, not a month early.
Well, and that's the thing is corporate required every store to send them your balance sheet, your profit and loss statement, and a full detailed, down to every minifigure part inventory by December 31st. And that inventory, if you've ever been into a Bricks and Minifig store, if you've got to, value every bit of bulk by the gallon, takes weeks.
Yeah. So
I would have started that.
Everybody who is criticizing her bookkeeping is expecting her to have been a month and a half early and is forgiving BAM for being more than a year late.
Yeah.
Right.
They are bad business people. She was doing really well.
Yeah.
We have Kai on phone. Part of that phone call with Kai, conversation with Kai that night that I don't think we've released yet, is him saying no, we're acknowledging you've done a really good job. And this is us helping you out by just letting you walk away freely without owing us anything. But you've done a good job.
Sure, but he's just if something bad happened to your store.
He's just a low-level employee. He's just a low-level employee that they put in charge of hostile takeover.
Yeah, we've heard some of his audio clips. Really interesting stuff. And so you're threatening me like I have to leave, and he goes, "Yeah, that's pretty much right."
Yeah.
That's him.
I acknowledge that. Well, good.
Every time Ben listens to that, every time I listen to that,
we just get
it's
so
just
angry.
I understand.
Part of me almost feels bad because he's deleted his LinkedIn last I saw, and he's young. I almost feel bad.
And then I have to remember.
And then I have to remember.
These are choices he made. To be the kind of person to say I'm threatening you, or to say out loud, we talked at her. Yeah, people are going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny that you guys bring this up, because when we interviewed the last relic, who was also a store owner, which you guys know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's funny because he told us that, Josh and Brandon came down there to, rescue his store also, and he was talking about that, or they were telling him that Josh and Brandon was telling the last relic, Gabe, allegedly that, you guys were using that store as a front for your
Brandon. It was Brandon telling him that.
For your heroin drug addiction.
And that store out in Oregon, man, they got a bird flying around.
The poop everywhere.
The bird that can't fly.
Yeah. So what do you say? It's funny because they keep, even when Reckless Ben got pulled over, they said that they had heroin. I don't know what their, thing is with heroin.
Yeah. What's the obsession
it
with
seems
heroin?
like they're always going there. And what's y'all's response to, I'm guessing, this ridiculous statement that you guys
For the record, I have never done, nor do I ever plan on doing heroin.
Yeah. In fact, with needles, you're not a needle fan.
No.
Yeah.
I am not either. I can't even watch it on TV.
Heroin either.
No.
I got allergy shots. I'm fine with needles.
I have to
heroin.
cover my eyes if I have to go get blood drawn or a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, I freak out. I have to lay down.
I get tattooed and pierced without a problem, but that's a tiny. I can't see the needle. No, never. I have never done. nor have I sold
Yes.
or bought
or been involved with heroin in any way, or any other anything in the opioid family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you ever do like when you got? Do you ever like get prescribed codeine? I guess.
yes.
I guess that is in the opioid family. We
no,
have never dealt in illicit drugs of any kind.
I was trying to think if my ADHD medicine is in the opioid family.
No,
it's not.
It's a stimulant. But
it is a stimulant.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move.
That'll be a weird clip.
When I go,
Oh,
wow.
it'll be great. I'm sure everybody watching this is loving it.
Closest we've come.
I do like to go to the pharmacy and say I'm here to pick up my meth, but that's just because it's called methylphenidate, and it's a joke.
Gotcha.
For the record, I have also never done non-prescribed meth.
Good. We'll all keep it clean. No pun intended. So Bryan Mansell's consignment agreement. I think most people generally believe that the consignment agreement was 65% of what is sold in Bryan's collection would be returned to him, and the store would keep 35% of that. Is that correct?
I mean,
this is one of those things where it's more complicated than that.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, essentially. So it was 65-35 split, unless the item's value was over $999.
Okay.
So essentially $1,000, and then it was a
70-30, right?
No, and then it was a 60-40 split. So we got an additional 5% if it was an item essentially over $1,000.
Well, you would have lost 5%.
No,
if you're getting,
you got 5% more.
I got 5% more.
So it was 70-30.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because he was getting 65%.
Oh, hold up.
Okay.
I wasn't getting 65%.
No, he got
Bryan
65.
was getting. Do people think I was?
I'm sorry. Yes, of course.
I was about to say. Do people think I was getting 65%?
No.
I would be mad at me if I thought that.
Bryan is getting 65%.
Yes.
The store, you guys are getting 35%.
Yes.
And if it's something over 1,000, then it's
Bryan would get 60% and the store would get 40%. And the thinking on that was that those items would take longer to sell.
Right.
And they would just they would take up more space. They were harder to move like in and out of the safes. And they would just they would take longer to sell.
Right.
And you guys did Layaway at the store also, did you not? Or
yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
all right. So
we had to get cameras, we had to get safes. Like we, took this seriously.
Yeah.
and you talked about how the collection, Bryan Mansell's collection, was tracked. You got different colors stickers, you got different barcodes.
Not barcode. So So the Last Relic mentioned something on the last I watched. I think maybe it was his last live. So I essentially had two different options, trying to figure out how to actually not how to inventory, but how to actually track those sales in the store was something that I spent a significant amount of time. There was about 3 months between when we first started gathering the collection and took it to that first convention, and then we actually had the grand reveal in the store. And so it's something I spent some time thinking of. But you got to keep in mind hold on, I'm going to actually look at the actual numbers here. The
common information is 780 sets, 1,200 minifigs.
746 sets, about 746 sets. And I'm actually going to get the numbers. 932 minifigures is what I had inventoried.
Okay.
And so to actually put those items into our system so that we could scan it with our little barcode scanner would have taken me maybe 5 to 10 minutes for every single item.
And that's 1,600 items.
And the longer that, and keep in mind that I was also working full time at the store, a lot of the time by myself, because I had between 2 and 4 part-time employees, depending on the season. And so, and also, trying to have a life, right? It would have taken months to actually scan everything in. And in that time, Bryan's collection is in the back, right? Not getting sold. And so I could have done that. And then what would have happened if I had done that? I would have had to print barcodes and then stick those separate barcodes on each box and then find a way to attach those barcodes to each minifigure. So we're looking at, 5 to 15 minutes per set per figure, right?
Wow, and that's a lot of time.
It's an enormous amount of time and effort. So instead, what I did is I created one inventory item in our POS that was Star Wars lot sets, right? And then one inventory item that was Star Wars lot for the minifigures. And then we put the minifigure number and the price on a little white price tag on a string, and we attached it to the minifigure. And then we put those yellow stickers, part of the value.
Clever. We should mention that. Yeah.
This
was a clever solution on her part too.
Part of the value of a retired set is in the box itself. So
sure.
Any collector out there is going to tell you it is so annoying when you go to a store to buy a set and there's a price tag sticker on the front of the box.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what you do. You cannot get that sticker off.
No way to get that.
I hate it. Right.
And if you do try to get it off, you're leaving residue on there.
So we priced our sets, like our new set, all of our other sets. We priced them on either the back corner or right off to the side underneath next to the barcode. And so what I ended up doing is picking up those little yellow circle stickers, and they were easy peel stickers so that they could actually be peeled off when they were purchased without damaging the box.
Right.
And then we put the price on top of it. So when one of those sets sold, all of my staff members knew if it had a yellow sticker on it, then, and keep in mind, I only had 2 to 4 staff members. It wasn't like I had a staff of 20 that were coming in and out or any new staff members. If they sold one of those, the price tag is right there. You ring it in under Star Wars sets, right? Star Wars lot sets. If it was one of those minifigures, you take the little tag off, you ring it in. And so when we were ringing it in, we'd put the set number and then you ring in the price. So then I could go back through those sales tickets and go, okay, this is set, whatever, sold for this much. I go onto my spreadsheet and mark it down as sold. And then same thing for the figures. We put the minifigure number on it. That way I could track. And it may not have been the best way to do it. Maybe I should have taken an extra 3 months, 4 months,
3
6
weeks
months,
off.
right? To create
and
2,000 inventory items.
I can kind of testify to. I heard her telling, employees as she was training them, it is so important that you make sure that you log these properly so that the Mansell family gets paid. And she would tell them over and over, like, you can't miss one, because if they missed one, she would go through, and she's diligent. She would have done this, but she would go through and go, oh, that set's no longer
not here. Now I have to
find
search through
in the
tickets for the last month
to
and
make
figure
sure
out
I
where
compensate him. So she was taking this very seriously, very, carefully, but at the same time, they cut her off in the middle of that process before his second to the last payment would have been, the next week.
The next day.
The next day.
We paid on the 15th of every month.
And
they were, you're no longer allowed to represent yourself. You're no longer allowed to use anything connected to that. I technically wasn't even supposed to use the checkbook to pay the employees.
Yeah, they allowed her.
They allowed
pay the
me to
employees
do that.
the next.
Oh, they're so nice. They're so nice.
Yeah. Right.
So
it may not have been the best, but considering the small staff I had and the fact that we wanted to get that collection out on the floor and be able to sell it to people, like, it seemed like the simplest but most thorough way that I could do it.
And Bryan Mansell was aware of it. Like, that's the other thing, is this was not like, oh, this is being done in
he would come into the store every month.
He was well aware, and it was working, and he was satisfied with it.
Yeah.
And then it was taken.
I know one thing a lot of people were wanting to know is, do you guys know how much you guys actually paid him out before corporate took over?
So That I don't have those numbers because I can't, in all of the packing and moving we've done, I can't currently find my checkbooks from the store. They're here somewhere in a stack of boxes.
Right. But all of that is in the system.
Yeah. Well,
that they won't let us get into. So
no,
that's the other thing.
No, that's not
the bank records.
So I have like I've downloaded the bank records, but the problem is that every time it says check, I was also paying all of the employees by check. So I can go through that and pull out, but then in order to make those line up, I have to, because on the checks itself, the carbon copy one, it'll have the names. So I have the bank records. I can go through but then you've also got to pull out 4 or 5 different checks. And then that means I have to go through all the payroll to line up those amounts to actually see. Right. I have those checkbooks somewhere. I just haven't been able to find them in the move.
The figure that we've heard that allegedly Bryan Mansell has said is that
he said Bryan will know.
Yeah, 14,000. Somewhere around $14,000 is what he was apparently given.
I think that's what I heard
at the time of the takeover. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. I think that's what I'd heard. Yeah.
He's a good guy. Like he's honest.
Yes, you can tell. Yeah. He's actually been in our chat.
In one of our live streams.
Yeah. He was great. So BAM Corporate, did they know that your store was doing consignment or consignment type deals? Or was this your first consignment deal that you had ever done?
This was the only consignment deal that we did. And corporate did know. That is part of the reason why we were requesting all of the Slack channel messages in our discovery, in our lawsuit, is corporate knew.
So tell everybody what the Slack channel is, if they're not aware of how you guys communicate at BAM.
I mean, it was a corporate required. I don't even know how you describe.
It's
Slack.
like Discord. It's a private server for employees.
And so
messaging's
every single store owner has their own account, like their own channel. Maybe is that what it is? Or if it's a corporate owned location, corporate has the manager has that. And then there are a bunch of different, I can't say too much because I don't want to give away I don't know quite where the line is of what I can and can't say, but there's various, marketing and various other different channels in there, announcements, things like that. Right.
Discord.
And then there's different channels between like locations. So we had one with all the Oregon stores, right? If the Oregon stores wanted to be able to talk to each other. But within there are conversations with corporate representatives talking about that consignment agreement. And so that is one of the discovery requests we have made for in our lawsuit. Not only that, but corporate. So and I don't have access to those because they immediately kicked me out that the night they took the store. But not only that, there's an exchange of emails between Bryan and myself, including the one that had that consignment agreement in it, which they again kicked me out of the email. So here's the thing though, is that whoever came in, there's been some debate. Corporate claims that Josh, I don't know. There's some, Josh and Brandon claim it was a couple of months before they bought the location. But if you look at when the LLC was filed for that location, it was filed the next day under Brandon's name. So there's some debate about who was actually in charge the next day. But I do know for myself that when I was working as a manager, I was given access to the Slack channel and the email. And then when I became the franchise owner, I still had access to the Slack channel and to the email. And in that Slack channel and in that email, I could see all the previous emails that were sent from the previous franchise owner, all the Slack messages that were sent to and from the previous franchise owner of that location. It was the same Slack account, the same email account that had been in use going back years. So whoever stepped in, theoretically, based on my own experience, whoever stepped in for day-to-day management of that store that opened on November 15th, I was there to drop off the paychecks. The employees were there. That store was open and operating and selling inventory. Whoever was in charge of that would have had access to the exact same email and the exact same Slack account, because the email was where the toy house invoices were coming through. It was where all the bills for the utilities were coming to. It was where the birthday party reservations was coming to.
And this is, I think, one of the things, getting back to the BAM
Bryan,
statements that are so frustrating, is when BAM tries
that
to
was all
accuse,
archived.
us of incompetence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Accusing somebody of gross incompetence is defamatory. I'm not going to accuse BAM of gross incompetence. Mm-hmm. I will say, if I'll let your audience decide for themselves. If they are saying that they didn't know, but all of those records were in their system and all of those sets were in their store, and they would have found those if they'd done the inventory they were legally obligated to do, who's being grossly incompetent?
Plus, there was an envelope, a big manila envelope, full of individual envelopes right under the cash register that said layaway, that had tickets, that had contact information, that had the set number right under the cash register. You couldn't get to the gift cards or the receipt paper without seeing that envelope.
Right.
I don't understand how anybody could walk into that store. Not only that, but with my 2 employees there the very next day. Yeah. I cannot fathom how you walk into that store the very next day, even presuming I never told them about it.
Which,
right?
We have video evidence that she did.
Let's presume I never told anybody about it. I still don't see how you walk in the store the next day and you see what is there and you do any kind of business. You don't know. Like, I don't understand how you don't know. How you don't look at it and go, this seems odd. I should ask an employee that's been working here for a year. What's going on with this?
Right.
Wait, there's layaway. I should find out about this.
And all your employees that you had at the time when you had control of the store still worked there once they took over, correct?
They were in Ben's video.
Okay, yeah.
Most of those employees that were in Ben's video,
let
me be clear, not Amanda.
Okay.
But the other 2 employees, I hired them. They worked for me. Both phenomenal. And if either of you are watching this, please reach out to me if you need a letter of recommendation.
They were great.
You know who I'm talking about. I've got you. I'm so sorry that you, yeah. I will leave that at that. Not Amanda. I have never met Amanda in my life. I did not hire her. She did not work for me. Yeah. That was one of those comments I got. I made a video right after Ben's that went like 700,000 views or something on TikTok. And so many of the comments were like, why did you have him arrested? I'm like, I am not Amanda.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the videos and I'm just going to give my opinion. I thought she was a bitch. So that's just my opinion.
Like, trying to be forgiving. I'm like, maybe he caught her on a very bad day, but boy, it was a bad day. She did not.
Yeah, it seemed like every day was a bad day.
I mean, sometimes employees are a reflection of management.
The culture.
I would expect different behavior. I absolutely would have expected significantly different behavior from any employee under like my ownership or management. She was not employed by me ever.
So how have you reconciled this whole BAM has said the Lego product consignment was never part of their official business model, and nothing that you were doing in terms of the consignment was ever authorized by corporate. So they're making you the fall guy there, and they're basically saying, and I'm just speculating here, they're basically using that as justification for coming in and taking your store when they know that there's a $100,000 plus collection there that you're selling.
They're not using the consignment. The consignment is nowhere in their reasons for terminating the store, right? So that they can't.
But in the PR statement, they keep referring back to that.
Right.
Yeah.
They're banging that drum. Yeah. We never authorized this. I didn't sign over that and all that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's presume I wasn't allowed to do it and nobody bothered to tell me that. It doesn't matter.
But you were on the phone with corporate when they came in. Yeah. They knew you were doing it.
Yeah. They absolutely did. But she's right. They have an obligation to pay Bryan regardless.
If you buy a house and you let your friend park their car in your garage and the bank repossesses your house and then says, no, we're taking that car too.
Yeah.
Right. Can't do that.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
Right? If the bank says, we never told you could park somebody else's car here, so we're going to take it. It doesn't matter if I was allowed to do the consignment or not. It is a legally binding contract. And according to like all franchise law, when you take over, like when they terminated our agreement, they made the statement, like they made the choice. They assumed all responsibility for everything. Like they can keep saying I wasn't allowed to do it. They can keep saying it was a private local arrangement. All they want. Legally, it does not matter.
But it is incredibly frustrating. Like
it's
watching
annoying
these people
and frustrating.
Lie and you know, and anybody who
deflect, right?
And anybody who's been paying attention has watched their story go from, literally saying we know nothing about this, it never happened, to it was worth $2,000 to $5,000, to it's worth $15,000, to now we want to give the Mansell family back everything. Like it can't those things cannot all be true, right? You can't say there is no collection and we want to give the collection back.
It's Schrodinger's Schrodinger's collection there.
But the thing that worries me is anybody who's not paying attention hears one of their lies once in isolation and says, "Oh, okay, now I think I understand."
She was doing something she wasn't supposed to be doing.
Wrong. Anybody who's paying attention is like, "Wait, BAM's story changes every week."
Right. We've seen comments online and people just speculating, saying, just asking the question: if your store didn't have an incredibly valuable vintage Star Wars Lego collection worth somewhere between $140,000 to $200,000 ish, somewhere in there, people have asked the question: would BAM have ever done a takeover of your store?
This is an interesting one, and we can't know. So I've got two possible guesses on this, but these are speculation. On the one hand, we had said to them that we were intending to leave. We were going to move for my work to Spain. And so we were interested in finding another buyer. And so maybe that was the precipitating event, or at least we thought so. Like I genuinely thought that it was about that. But then we learned from them that they, before we'd ever even floated that idea, had already sent in Brandon Best as this kind of secret observer. So
the secret customer.
That into question. Had he already, walked in and looked around and said, "There's a lot in here that's worth taking"?
The timing.
We don't know.
The timing is odd because, my consignment agreement with Bryan was coming to an end in the end of January. Right,
so it was the 1 year. Everything back. So January 31st.
I would have gone through and done a full inventory, and then gone through our POS system and made sure that I had reconciled everything that had been sold, all of his payments, and then the store would have either purchased what was left over outright or returned them to him or extended the consignment agreement. We didn't know what, but as we were coming to the end of that, Bryan approached me because he wanted to kind of see where we were at selling wise. And so I had then created a duplicate copy of the spreadsheet that I was running on and emailed that to Bryan in September.
And I created, folks should know too.
I created a duplicate so that he could not accidentally make changes to the one that I was working on, right? Because I've gone on the spreadsheets and accidentally hit the wrong button and deleted an entire row. But I'm also not a very Like I hate Google Sheets. So I created a duplicate so that I could send it to him so that he could see, here's what's sold, here's what's left, here's the approximate value, all of that in September. And then I did not find this out until Coffeezilla's video, that Brandon came down to the store in October.
So they were clearly already somewhat aware of the store, the value of the store. They were interested in it before we ever said to them that that we were going to be moving. So our kind of running theory was that's when they went, oh, here's an opportunity, right? But now it turns out they were already looking into that before.
And Chris, in the meantime, you had done a great job promoting that entire collection. You had made commercials. You had taken it to a convention. Like you had done a big thing. Like people don't realize the collection was so big. You were like, just come look at it. We're not even selling it right now. Just come see it.
That first. Well, and that it's so funny that it worked out that way, because when Bryan first approached me and came into the store, like we were planning on going to that convention, and so our load-in date for Rose City was on a Thursday, and he had reached out to his dad, and his dad was like, "Well, just come by and take a look on Thursday," because I was going to be heading up to Portland anyway, like heading in that direction. And so I was like, this is cool. I'll stop and see. And then we were just in like the early talks of what we were going to do. And so I go to his dad's house and I genuinely can't describe what it was like to see the collection for the first time. Just the bedroom. Wow. The bedroom was just boxes. The closet was like the most intricate game of Tetris, where it was just, they were pristinely stacked, right? And walking in and looking, and then him going, there's another room, right? And then I want to address one thing, and I hope Bryan will forgive me for saying this. I think he will. I know he hasn't spoken a lot about this, but one of the common comments that I've seen that people criticize with, like, why would you choose collecting Lego as an investment, right? Like, I've even seen the really cruel comments of like, I'm glad you lost it because that's a stupid thing to spend your money on, right? Which, bro, like, why? Don't judge people. But like, his dad was a collector. I mean, his dad, I made a joke to Ben when I got home that day that I, as a woman by myself, walked into a strange man's house, and one of the first things that he said to me is, here's my knife collection. And it was because he had a giant collection of like old knives, right? Arrowheads and First Nations weapon, like it was amazing. And then he even had like a baseball card and comic book collection and a rock collection, right? So he wasn't just showing.
We were both into comic books and baseball cards too.
So he was
I'm a collector myself.
Different, right? So he was a collector. Right? Here's all my fishing stuff, right?
He's also a really nice guy. Like,
such a nice guy.
The other thing is, like, Bam picked the wrong victim, right? Because, both in us and in him, because we can be genuine about the fact that we cared about him. Like, it meant so much to her to see his joy at getting to share his collection and to, out the day of the big launch. And that was so really, really cool.
I went out to see him. I went out to just like see the collection, and we're just talking, and I spent several hours there. And he says, like, do you want to take some of the sets with you to the convention? And I was like, we don't have a contract. We don't have an agreement. We don't have anything. And he's like, no, you should take. And then this sweet man just goes, like, he had little Post-it notes on every set with the set number and the name of it and how much he paid for it, right? That man tracked how much he paid. That's why there's a cost row, because he tracked what he paid for everything.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And so he starts just like taking the Post-it notes off of the sets, and he's like, this one is really cool, you should take this one, and what about this one? And the next thing I know, I've got like 10 or 15 sets in the back of my car, and we're he's writing out like a handwritten contract on his kitchen table. And then I'm calling Bryan and going, I'm so sorry. He was so excited. I couldn't stop him. And Brian's like, yeah, that's my dad. Like, that's really cool.
That's really neat.
Took him to Rose City the next day. And people came, we posted about it on social media. And I'm going to take this moment to say, when you see those posts on social media, on the Salem social media pages, and my face, those are posts that I made. So please stop being mean to me. People are leaving horrendous. I have gotten death threats. I don't have access to those pages anymore. And corporate is the one that can remove those photos and stop those comments. And from what I have seen, nothing is being done about those. So all of those posts were done by me. And so we made social media posts. People came by the booth. And then Brian and his dad actually came to the convention on the last day and got to come to the booth and see them and talk to people. And so that's the part that like has kind of gotten lost in all of this, is that the sheer like joy that it brought to like Brian's dad. And then when we did the launch event at the store, we filled up the entire party room, our entire birthday party room, which is like as bigger than our living room, with that collection. And then his dad got to come in and just like
see it,
talk to people and see it, because
see their joy. Like even at the comic convention the first time, like Lego folks know, like they would see these sets and they would just lose their minds, and they would be like, "That really?"
Well, and it's funny because
can I hold it and get a picture with it? You know,
he was
and
like,
so
"Do you think people will really like it that much?" And I was like, "People are gonna go crazy.
They're gonna lose their minds."
Yeah. Was one of them the Cloud City set?
One of them was the Cloud City
people
set.
Would just like want their picture taken.
Can I just take
Cloud
my
City.
picture with it?
And he got to see that his work brought people that joy.
Yeah.
We definitely know all about that world with vintage Kenner Star Wars toys. Right? I'm holding a $25,000 Luke Skywalker at a convention. I just wanted a picture with it.
Yeah,
you know. So
double
I totally understand that.
Luke. Early bird special.
That's what we collect.
No, it was we had people come in. There were people that came in. There were a bunch of like UCS sets in the collection. The Sandcrawler, the Snow Speeder, the Ewok Village, which is my particular white whale. And that very first day, the two of the Snow Speeders, I think the UCS TIE Fighter, the Sandcrawler sold immediately. I think like four of those UCS sets sold in the first 5 minutes that the store opened.
The Ewok Village one was kind of heartbreaking to her, because every time she'd have to sell one, it was like, oh, I'm never going to get this set myself.
I would find...
So she's joked about, if we ever get justice for this thing, maybe she'll go out there, and find herself one of those rare Ewok villages.
Brian's collection had, I think, like 4 of them in there. And they sold immediately. And then the last one that we had, one of my previous customers, Walker, was the sweet. I don't even want to guess his name, his age, because I'm so. But he was like maybe 13, 14, 15, somewhere. I don't know, somewhere around there. Sweetest kid. And he had that one on layaway, and he was so excited about it. And yes, I could have been like, no, I'm so sorry. Like we could sell. I put it out and it sells it in 10 minutes. But like that, here's this teenage boy. It's his dream set, right? Yeah. How am I not going to?
Like, and he did get it.
I did see there's text messages that he actually was able to redeem that to get that one. But
she was so happy.
I would find
he did get his dreams
outside of Brian's. Like I would find Ewok Villages on like Bricklink. A store would have them like on sale, or they would be on, and I would buy one for myself. And then I would make the mistake of going into work and I would talk to a customer about it, and they'd be like, "Wait, you have a new one?" I'm like, yeah, it's mine. I don't even want to build it. I would always make the joke that when I retired, I would build it. When I'd finished building all my other sets, I would actually build it. And it would never, inevitably, they would be like, will you sell it to me? And I'd be like,
she kept selling her own.
Oh my goodness.
But like the layaway thing was one of those things where people have like criticized me for that. But I'm sorry. When you work in a job and one of the things that you can do is bring that amount of joy to somebody. Like somebody comes in and says, this is a set I've been dreaming about my whole life. I can't afford to buy it all at once. It does nothing to me. It takes nothing away from me to say, absolutely, we'll hold on to it. You make the payments.
Especially since, and this is something people should understand, there were more sets than there was shelf space.
Oh, absolutely.
So it was going to be sitting in the back anyway. Why not have it on layaway? Like, this was not some, this bad business practice. This was just good business, but also building good relationships. Part of the
requirement from corporate was that we had to keep the retired and certified sets distinctly separate from the new in-box sets,
which is a good policy.
We had, like probably about this amount of shelf space for our retired and certified section. It was about this much. And so you could put maybe 15, 20, depending on the size of Bryan's collection out on the shelf on a daily basis. We're talking about, how many hundreds of sets. There's no way. I could have put 3/4 of the collection on consignment and still had plenty on the shelf. But also like
on layaway, not on consignment.
On layaway.
It was all on consignment.
there's too many
legal terms. Yeah.
But like, how do you not do everything? How do you not have a job where you are working around Lego every day and do everything that you can to make somebody happy? Like the store, we donated birthday parties, like celebration parties to Make-A-Wish kids who were going to like Legoland as their wish. And they Make-A-Wish would call us up and be like, can they have a party beforehand in your, like we would do that all the time. We would donate birthday parties for kids that could not afford them. We would give them away in raffles. Like we would, how do you not have that kind of job and do whatever you possibly can to make people happy? Like, yeah. I'll take whatever criticism people want to throw at me for doing layaways, but I will not apologize for doing what I can to make the customers and that community happy.
I think that's a great response to that criticism. That's good.
I won't apologize for it. I won't apologize for putting my customers first. Right? Yeah. Their happiness and their satisfaction.
And you were selling the sets.
Yeah. Yeah. There was plenty of them to go on the shelf.
So with Brandon Best, what was your conversation? You mentioned him a few minutes ago. Yeah. What was your conversation with him like before the termination letter?
This one I can speak to a little bit because this is interesting. We did not know his relationship to BAM. We did not know he was a BAM employee.
Yeah.
We thought, here's a guy. And the way Kai framed it to us on the phone was he's come up from the Eugene store.
No, that's the way Matt and Ammon framed it to me on the phone on our Zoom call that morning. Right. Was there's somebody in Eugene that is potentially interested in buying a franchise. He wants to come take a look around.
Yeah. So we were trying that night to be super nice to him because we're like, this poor guy got totally stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know that that his job was rescuing stores. They never made that clear. So we thought this poor guy. And so like I say to Kai on the phone, on the recorded conversation, like, no, we're not going to give Brandon a hard time. Like he's not the one who's taking our store. You are, Kai. Yeah. Like this is a corporate choice. Well, and so we were super nice to Brandon and he didn't speak much.
Not much at all.
He just kind of took all this information from us, but we told him.
Well, and any claims that Brandon was like, any claims that Brandon was concerned because we were causing problems.
Oh yeah, they've said that we were like belligerent. Like we were somebody just walked in and said, we're taking your business, and we were willing to walk out and sit down in our car and call the company and go, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
That's not belligerent. Yeah. Like, we were trying to work through it with them. So that's just not accurate.
All right.
We had no idea who he was. He showed up like a half an hour before the store closed. And introduced himself, and he didn't really say, like, we chatted a little bit, but then like he watched me lock the doors and turn off the open sign and take all of the consignment items from the shelf, put them back in the safe, asked me what I was doing and explained what I was doing. And then like, he walked around with me for a while. There was a point where I had a piece of paper and I was going to go through line by line with every minifigure in the case and do an inventory while I was waiting for Ben to get here. And then corporate is like, no, as soon as you get that termination letter, you have to leave. And so Brandon, I had no idea. We didn't know what he was there for.
Well, and do you even remember
Intel gathering? It sounds like
secret chopper.
I do not remember.
So that whole, him coming in with a video camera, like we didn't have any interaction with him.
I don't remember him at all.
With secret chopper guy.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I didn't know about that.
Either.
Yeah, you might not have been there that day.
I don't even know. Yeah.
So did he deliver the termination letter to you?
It was emailed.
Okay.
And we did not sign it.
And you did not see that come in at all?
No,
we had no warning. I mean, this was so out of the blue. We were just absolutely blindsided.
Yeah.
So when you got that termination letter, what all accounts or systems were you locked out of?
Everything.
Boom. Everything the next day.
Everything.
Everything. Slack, account,
email,
social media,
the social media, the point of sale system. Literally the only thing I had was the bank account. And that is because we had to open a new bank account for the store after corporate got the other one frozen.
And it's important for folks to know the franchise agreement says that they have to give you 30 days.
Yeah.
That there should be this period that is a transition period.
Well, and the franchise agreement also says they were supposed to hand over full control to the social media accounts. The fact that my face is on there getting death threats and being called words that I can't say because you're going to have to censor them and make him wildly uncomfortable. The fact that my face is on there with all of that, which is completely unacceptable, but also something that should have been avoidable because corporate was supposed to turn over in their franchise agreement full access. I was supposed to have ownership access to all the social media
from
and
jump.
That
when we first got it. There are a bunch of things they violated at the beginning.
Yeah.
And Chris, we know that they could remove things on social media.
Absolutely.
We know that they're monitoring BAM franchises now on social media, making them take posts down.
So there are two, at least that I know of, for Instagram and Facebook. There are two Salem Bricks and Minifigs accounts on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know about any of the other ones because I don't go looking, but somebody opened a brand new Instagram and Facebook account after they took our store. So somebody opened a new account and started posting on that account. The account that had the most followers, that shows Bryan's consignment, all of that stuff, posting on that page stopped when they took the store from us. They never posted on that page. So all of the posts, I hope people hear this part. If you are going out there and leaving comments on those were all stuff that I had posted when I was still either managing or owning the location. But corporate has full control. Like you can still see on the page transparency who owns those.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is there anything that either one of you could tell us about a U-Haul?
This is kind of crazy. We saw the U-Haul, know it was a U-Haul. Like we can tell you for a fact there was a U-Haul that was there, but we didn't think of it as the biggest deal at the time. We're like, the guy showed up in a U-Haul.
I was like, that's weird.
And it was just like, that's weird that he showed up in a U-Haul.
He made a comment that, and I think he was talking on the phone to somebody because he spent a bunch of time like just kind of wandering around the store talking on the phone. I don't know to who, while I was going through and like taking the pictures. And he made a comment about like he was going to pick up like a truck or a car or something, and that's why he was driving a U-Haul, which I thought was weird.
You don't tow a truck with a U-Haul. You don't rent a U-Haul box truck to tow a truck. But anyway, like we don't know, but we thought it was weird. It wasn't until Coffeezilla told us that they denied that he had the U-Haul. We were like, why even lie about that? We know he had a U-Haul. And it's just, I hope folks out there are seeing it's just one more time when they're going, here's our story, and our story is absolutely the case. There is no Mansell collection. Oh, wait, there is. Yeah. There was no U-Haul. Oh, wait, there was.
What?
People are not.
And when we
there's no consignments. Yeah, there is.
Yeah. And when we interviewed the last relic, he talked about how they had brought a U-Haul to his store down there as well.
In Florida. So they did the same thing.
There's something in the Canby store too.
Yep.
So.
Yeah,
Wow.
the attorney for the Canby case is on record. So I'm not speaking out of turn to say that they showed up in the dead of night to take all the inventory and move it to another place.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're going to move to inventory now, and you mentioned Coffeezilla's video. He did a really good investigation on it. Did a great video. But I want to get your thoughts about the overall valuation, because that has been all over the place.
Yeah.
We've heard you in other videos say that, in an effort to promote it, you looked at this enormous collection and you kind of gauged it at $200,000.
Based on other like collections that I had seen for sale. Right.
And Bryan initially, I believe, said that it was worth between 150 and 200,000. I believe you had posted early that it was 150 to 200,000, and then some of the posts a little bit down the road said 200,000, and then Coffeezilla comes out with a video saying that his estimation is 107,000. BAM Corporate comes out and says it's between 95 and 100. So you got all these issues and discrepancies. Are the minifigs accounted for with the inventory? Are they part of it? You guys know how incredibly valuable 900 and something minifigures are. That is absolute gold. When you're talking about some of these minifigures are $1,500, $500, $300. I mean, it just you have the very first Ahsoka Tano minifigure. You've got money right there in your hands. So let me ask you this first. Who's the first person to actually say a figure? Did Bryan have an idea of what this collection was worth, or his father, or were you the person that kind of came in and said, well, this is probably between $150,000 and $200,000? Where did that all begin?
So you're asking me to go back a long way.
Yeah.
It all started when he first stopped by the store. He brought in like a folder with his dad's inventory sheet,
like handwritten.
I think this one was too, right? It was typed up, but some of it was handwritten too, with like all of his costs, and then like he just had pictures. And so the very first time I'm looking at like flipping through this list of inventory and just going off of like my recognizing the names of the sets themselves. And then looking at the pictures and just looking at like the sheer volume of the pictures. And then we're going and talking and I'm telling, and that wasn't even including the minifigures, because those were in like baseball card actually boxes. They were like those thin baseball card boxes.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this and going like, just based on like what he's holding, I'm like, it could be anywhere from like $50,000 to $1 million. It's hard to tell. Just by going through these sheets, right? And so then it was, going up to his dad's house and taking a look at there, and then talking to him after that and going like, we could be sitting anywhere between like 100 and 250, just depending on it, right? Mm-hmm. And then it was and so that number evolved as we start moving sets from his dad's house to Bryan's storage unit, and then Bryan's storage unit to the store, and getting them all inventoried. And then putting those in, and I was going off of Bricklink, right? Some people go off of eBay. So, I mean, if there's viewers that are watching that are trying to do their own, some of them are using eBay, which we never really used eBay to evaluate prices in the store, because eBay tends to be inflated because you're selling to a wider audience essentially, whereas Bricklink
people getting bidding wars right at the end.
Yeah, whereas Bricklink is a very niche. It is for Lego people, right?
And eBay takes into account the 12 to 15% eBay fee.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be. You'd have to reduce that percentage on valuation.
Bricklink just makes it really easy to look at the last 6 months sales, the current items, and so that's what I would do. Is I would look at, okay, what did the figure in new condition sell for 6 months ago, right? Mm-hmm. What is the average of a figure in new condition selling for right now? So when you see the high and low, we would use that kind of a judge between the used value and the new value, because when I'm doing the high and low, those are going to vary based on the condition of the figure itself, right? Is it a little bit scratched? So we're going to be probably closer to the low value. The higher one will be down. Is the box a little bit damaged, right? The higher value will be down. So as I started actually going through that, and then there were some there were some in the spreadsheet, you can see there's some like yellow highlighted ones. And there was one in particular, I don't even remember which one it was, but I got so excited seeing it on the list, and then it wasn't actually in the collection. And so some of those, just like they weren't in the collection. His dad had either given them away or, as gifts or whatever. So there were a few that would have been incredibly valuable. There was one that I think it was like the first appearance of Commander Cody or Fox or something. I don't remember. There's a little note on the spreadsheet for it. That like just wasn't there. So the numbers would evolve, or
sure.
This figure is damaged. This one's got a cracked torso. So it might be worth $300. It's actually not worth anything unless there happens to be an extra, or I can find an extra torso in the store or whatever. Right. Or like, is this Leia the misprint? It's all of those things, those inventory. It took so long to go through, because you've got to go through those figures. And some of them were like, this has the wrong head, so we've got to find the right head. Or like
wrong hair piece, or
exactly, or it's got the wrong torso or the wrong legs, or this figure is misnumbered and he has it as this number, but it's actually this. So many tiny details, and so that's why there's some that never actually made it priced to the inventory sheet, because I couldn't actually price it until I was sure I could fix it. Right. Or make it correct. Some of those were there was an Ahsoka, and there was a Boba Fett, and there were a couple of other figures that there was a what's her name, Bo-Katan, that were custom figures. And so because they weren't from, I couldn't identify them as what custom figure company they came from, we weren't going to be able to sell them. So they would have gone back to Bryan. And so that number that originally started as 200,000 starts coming down as you go through the details of it. Mm-hmm. So, and then you just kind of start coming down from there. So yeah, that number.
And I know she's been frustrated.
I rambled and went off on my brain.
I mean, I think it's good for folks to understand that was a process. And I know she's been frustrated because Reckless Ben has pushed the 200,000 number.
It doesn't make me frustrated.
Not wrong that he's done so. That's what he heard, right? Yeah. But folks who are collectors understand, with a collection that large, it takes time to evaluate. Yeah. So the preliminary number was 200,000. Reckless Ben's not wrong to be saying this is what this cost, was estimated to be. Yeah. It was at one time. And then as she went through the process of carefully examining it, that value came down. And I think folks who have been following the story can, hold those two things in their minds. They can understand that is correct. Like you start with, this ballpark and then you get more specific, right? But I think there are people who treat it like a gotcha.
Well,
where they're like, oh, you said 200,000 and later you looked at it more carefully and it was worth less. Yeah, that happened.
That does happen. And over time, those prices continue to go up as well. Those Lego sets are worth more today than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I mentioned this earlier in the interview. Bryan Mansell spoke with the gentleman that does the Collecting Weekly podcast.
Yeah.
And Bryan Mansell said, this is after the takeover.
Yeah.
This is Bryan Mansell when he was reaching out to people for help with no hope.
Yeah.
This is before Reckless Ben got involved. Yeah. He goes to Collecting Weekly. Collecting Weekly got involved on their behalf, was pretty much threatened with by BAM Corporate.
Yeah.
They were threatened to be sued and to shut it down. But Bryan apparently told the host of that show that if BAM Salem sells everything that they have that belonged to my father, then they owe me $100,000, and that's with the consignment agreement. Okay. So if you look at those percentages, that makes that collection worth $150,000+.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you is, can you speak on what you say the overall valuation is? Like Coffeezilla said 107,000. If Bryan was right, and I assume that he was, then we're talking about tens of thousands of more dollars than what the internet has basically accepted as fact.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you go by the numbers that I have in my inventory, right? It's about 83,000 for the sets and about 30,000 for the minifigures that I had inventoried. So that gets you at what, 110,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have to factor in that I had and I think somebody, I haven't looked at it yet. There was a tote of minifigures that most of them were duplicates that I hadn't gotten around to actually adding into the inventory.
They were in freezer bags, right? We've heard about these.
No.
Okay.
We'll circle back to that. So they were still in the tiny little minifig bags that Ed had put them in. And on each of those, he'd had a little sticker. He'd identified it and wrote the cost down on it. So, I mean, it was a tote. It was about this big. And I returned that. I never inventoried those. So they never made it onto my spreadsheet. I returned that to Bryan. And then from what I understand, those were part of what he sold to M&R. I don't know off the top of my head what M&R ended up buying those for. But those would have been included in whatever that value then would have been.
And he got one of the Cloud City sets back as well.
Yeah.
Right?
And the Cloud City, that was also one. There were 13 sets that I still had at my house that I had taken to a convention. And so they had ended up in the tote with the bricks and minifigs stuff, tote of stuff that we took to conventions. And as we were packing up and getting ready to move, 13 sets in that tub of minifigures, we returned to Bryan.
And that's another thing. I mean, it's another illustration of the way they try and muddy the waters.
Yeah.
So they then they were hiding sets in their garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
15 sets we took to a convention, we gave them all back to him. We didn't take any of his sets.
And then Bryan there were some sets that were duplicates of the ones that we had in the store already. So Bryan still had those in his storage. And that was okay, I sold the last of this one. Bryan, can you bring that one? And then we would add it to the inventory. Or there was also a huge, a big moving box full of microfighters and battle packs. And we had so many that Bryan just kept that one in his storage, and those never made it into the inventory. So my understanding is those are the ones that ended up getting sold to M&R.
Right.
So it's important for folks to understand that kind of discrepancy.
Yeah.
There were things that we are counting as these are things that would have been part of the consignment because they would have been had we sold everything and then gotten even more from his storage. Yeah. So when people give that high number, we were including that, but we didn't even get those into the inventory, which is why the inventory number is going to be lower because we were not able to even get those on the shelves in time.
Well, and
gotcha.
I think what you're talking about with I don't have the number. I'm sure somewhere there are the numbers of what M&R, what he purchased all those for. Mm-hmm. Somebody could probably separate out the minifigures. And that would give you close to the value of the collection that we had, right? Outside of the 100 and what did I say, 20,000? Yeah, the 82 plus 30. But then I think, so when you mentioned freezer bags, I'm guessing what you're talking about asking is Sheldon's statement of freezer bags, which I will clarify about that. So part of what Ed had was he would just kind of gather random minifigure parts if he thought they might be valuable or if he thought they were cool. And so there were sandwich bags full of guns or pauldrons or a bunch of capes, hair pieces, random helmets,
He was a collector.
Right. Yeah. And so there were probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 like sandwich bags full of just parts, which inherently in themselves, outside of like the weapons, they don't really have a value
unless you can find that's the Leia hair and I've got the Leia.
Exactly. Right? Unless like, if I have a torso, it essentially doesn't have a value if I don't also have the head and the hair and the feet, right? The legs. And so, but also some of those minifigures were like mismatched, right? And so we were going through and using those bags, or like, here's a figure, here's a Rex, but it doesn't have the pauldron. Or here's this figure, but it doesn't have a cape, or here's a Vader, but yeah. And so we were using those bags to go through and see what we could complete as far as the figures. So those were not inventoried. There was no way I was going to go through and count every individual gun. Right.
Yeah.
Or what's the little plastic piece that goes into the trooper's helmet, the visor. It's not the visor. Well, there were a ton of the visors.
But the little antenna that he's got on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
okay. Yeah.
The old style ones it was almost shaped like a missile almost. Like it was the tiny little rounded. Now I'm forgetting what it's called.
I don't remember.
But just
somebody
those.
Watching this is screaming because they know.
They're
like yelling at their YouTube. Yeah. They're like, don't you know it's called a...
It was like a different kind. It was the old style because it was the old gray, right? All those various random parts. So we were using those to go through and try to complete the figures as I was going through the inventory. Eventually, those would have been like purchased. The store would have paid Bryan for those. And we would have purchased them at what we call a premium bulk rate, which is essentially like that's what when we would have people come in and do trades, things like trees and leafy pieces and stuff like that, ladders and ropes. And
the more valuable bulk.
Exactly. And so probably like it's hard to say without actually like having those bags in front of me, but from like the best that I can remember, it would have added anywhere from like $200 to $500 onto the value of the collection. But also there was no way I was going through and inventory counting up every single gun.
That would have taken way too long.
But if people are, and it's possible that Sheldon is confusing what was in those freezer bags and what was still in the tiny mini bags, which were individual minifigs that were complete. Those were valuable.
In that tub I returned to Bryan, I had gone through and separated out, like, here's the first trilogy figures, here's the second, here's the third, to kind of try to go through so that I could at least keep them somewhat organized. We needed to inventory. And then I would go through and pull them out, or somebody would come in and go, do you have this figure? Hold on, let me check the tote. And if we had it and sold it, I would go through and add it to the inventory real quick and then mark it as sold. Because there were just so many different figures.
Our dog really wants to be in the video, but he's hidden by the by our little Chiron there. And so I'm like, people should know I'm petting the dog is what I'm doing.
No, it was and that's part of why Bryan brought the collection to me, right? Because it was a massive amount of work. Had he gone on eBay and tried to sell it all as one,
it would have taken years.
It would have taken forever.
Well, even if he'd sold it all as one bulk lot,
he would have gotten ripped off.
How do you even know how to price something like that? Yeah. Right?
Yeah, he would have lost out a lot of money.
Right? I could have done that. The store could have gone, okay, I've now got all the sets inventoried and I know what the value is and I can put them all together and sell them all on eBay as one. But the liability of doing that, shipping that out and then having somebody go, well, I want a refund and I'm going to send them back to you, but they're all going to be open and missing the liability that you take on when you try to sell something online like that was just, that's part of the reason why people would come to the store. It's important for folks to know
we did not do that.
Yeah,
right? Exactly.
Just the sheer volume of work trying to get them all inventoried, because people are like, she had them for a year and a half. How come she didn't finish inventorying? I'm like, because also I was taking in buys from customers coming in every day and trying to get those and sorting bulk and building and
running a business.
Right.
It was a lot.
So
I did the best I could.
speaking of running that business, on June 29th, BAM Corporate released a PR statement through Business Wire.
Okay.
And I want to key in on this highlighted part right here.
Ben, can we
Yeah, let me make
expand?
this,
I got it.
I can make it.
There you
I can
go.
make it a little bigger as
No,
well.
No, we
This
got
is-
it. Now we got a full screen.
So when we did Coffeezilla's video, I didn't know that we could expand the recording screen itself
Right.
to the full screen. So when you see me there, like trying to like strain to see,
Right.
I'm
I
trying
remember.
to
Oh, you're
see
looking at the little tiny
tiny
window.
box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we did, I think it was when we did, it wasn't until we did the Psych Walker Studios when they were trying to go, when we were doing the minifigures,
Yes.
that I was like, I can't see that figure. And then we finally figured out that you can actually maximize the screen.
Right.
Now we can read what you've got.
Now I
Yep.
can see it. It's
So
not
it
all
says,
blurry.
yeah, for real. I'm glad you could see it. So Bricks and Minifigs investigation found documentation estimating the realistic highest retail value at approximately $95,000 to $100,000. That estimate seems to align with what Bryan Mansell's public statements were on April 29th, 2025 Collecting Weekly podcast. And then right here,
Right.
Yeah.
we want to ask you about this. When the new owners, Brandon Best and Josh Johnson, took over the Salem location, they discovered in the store only a small number of Star Wars products with an estimated at-cost value between $2,000 and $5,000.
Okay. So
In this PR statement, they said, "Look, we're trying to make Mr. Mansell whole. We're going to give him all the Star Wars sets in the store." But they're saying there's only $2,000 to $5,000 worth
Right.
when they took over.
That's not what they're saying, though.
All right,
That's
clarify
not
that.
At cost.
But
At
even then,
cost.
that 2005 to 2005.
So, but the thing is that's consignment. That didn't cost anything.
So what they're saying, my understanding from that statement, from reading that statement, is they're claiming there was only $2,000 to $5,000 at cost of Star Wars inventory
Yes.
in the entire store.
Exactly.
That's not just the consignment. That is Star Wars inventory in the entire store.
because we had other Star Wars inventory.
That
in the
is
store.
all the used sets. That is all the new in box sets.
So
That's
how
all
wrong
the
is that
expired.
statement, Chris?
We have a video of our minifigure case, the Star Wars case. The Star Wars case in the store was the biggest minifigure case for a reason, because it was the most popular. You go buy new in box, ask at cost, a $2,000 to $5,000. If you're purchasing it at cost, I would spend $2,000 buying a case of 2 or 3 Star Wars sets. So you're looking at maybe 9 sets, 9 to 12 new in box current sets.
In other words, it's bonkers.
Yeah.
That is totally crazy.
It is
And the thing that this is
laughable.
what gets me.
Yeah.
And I'm stepping back here, getting a little broader, right?
Laughable.
This was an opportunity that BAM missed.
Yeah.
They could just have seen and said, hey, Brandon Best and Josh Johnson clearly lied to us. They said there was $2,000 to $5,000. Then we saw the Gorman's video. There's clearly 10 times that in the store. We were deceived by these guys. And instead they chose to go double down, double down, double down. Brandon Best and Josh Johnson must be telling the truth. We're going to keep repeating this number that anybody can look at the video and go, that is clearly not the case.
Right.
Well,
I don't know why they keep going back to that. What is their relationship with the? I'm speculating here, but what is their relationship with Brandon Best and Josh Johnson that they won't just acknowledge? If those guys told you $2,000 to $5,000, they lied to you.
Well, and they're also, we have Josh Johnson on police body cam footage saying,
Right.
whatever you find in the store, you can buy it for, right?
So they entrusted the person who is creating.
But
who's
the
gonna,
idea that there is $2,000 to $5,000 versus Star Wars inventory in that store is like it is laughable. It is utterly absurd.
Yeah.
And the pictures that we sent to Coffeezilla. Like there's no chance. Like
I mean, maybe it was 2,000 to 5,000 of what was in the store once they hauled everything out with the U-Haul truck. Maybe that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, speculation.
Speculating, but there's no way.
Speculating. Yeah. No.
Good call.
$2,000 to $5,000, $2,000 to $5,000 when we were pushed out the door.
Absurd.
Who knows what there was by the next morning? We can't know.
It's completely and utterly absurd.
So another statement in the same PR, Bricks and Minifigs investigation also found point of sale data showing about 61,000 and potentially more may have been sold from the collection prior to November 14th, 2024. The companies believe Bryan Mansell may have only received approximately $15,000 in payments over roughly a year. The record suggests a discrepancy may exist between what was sold and paid to him, which the company is still investigating. Chris, Benjamin, is that saying that you owed him $47,000 and you didn't pay him? Is that what that's saying?
So sorry, all I can hear is Frankie's music in the background. Sorry, hold on.
There's two issues
Can you minimize and put that back up? Because I want to make sure that I'm saying the right numbers.
I'm happy to.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, so they're showing. So I haven't been able to go through and do like a deep dive on the point of sales records that corporate released. Right. I haven't had a chance. I'm working.
Because we didn't have access to those for a year.
Yeah, they still haven't provided it to us. They provided it to Coffeezilla, and then somebody else just recently sent it to me. Actually, yesterday is the first time I've actually gotten the actual point of sale data that corporate claims it is. So they're claiming they went through the system and found 61,000, right? About 61,000. So now they know how to find that. When for the last year and a half, they haven't known that it was there or how to find those two inventory items. But also, like, I have no way of verifying without seeing that myself, whether that's all of the Star Wars that we sold between that time, right? Because there were also just like regular Star Wars minifigures that weren't part of the consignment.
And those
tickets and our new in box, right? The U sets, like all of that stuff. So I haven't actually seen those, but like if they're saying, okay, so 61,000 sold between when we started and November 14th, right? And then I don't have the actual numbers of what Bryan was paid outside of that, like 15,000, right? I would have to actually confirm that that's how much he got paid. I would need him to confirm, or I've got to find my thing.
Right.
But I do think it's important for folks to understand, and we've mentioned this before too, that he was paid on this rolling way. Here's the amount that you're owed for the previous, 3 months? And he was due to be
the 15th of every month is when
exactly.
Payout, right?
So, but we were operating on a 3-month grace period, right? Because essentially, because we had the consignment 3 months from the grand reveal and the comic convention. There was about 3 months in between as I went through and inventoried it. Very little sold between those, but some stuff did sell at the convention, right? So there were also all the other details in that. If people were paying using trade, if people were paying using gift cards, right? If it was in-store credit, the royalty payments, the all of those details. So there was a 3-month, right? So prior to November 14th, there would have been 3 months worth of sales that Bryan was owed already. So I don't know. I haven't gone through and actually lined up those dates to see how much of that difference between the 15,000 and the 61,000 sat in those 3 months that I would have paid in the next 3 months.
But this is a really good example of what.
But then by January 31st, we would have paid everything except for what was still on layaway, because that had that 6-month thing, and we would have, the store would have purchased the layaway items outright.
It's kind of like, and you alluded to this before. She makes him a copy of the spreadsheet. They say she was keeping multiple books. That
Right.
sounds
Yeah.
really fishy, right? No,
They
she
had
gave a
different
guy
numbers on them.
an accounting
Yeah.
To update him. That's
Yeah.
good business practice,
They're-
right?
Yeah.
In the same way in this, they say there was a large discrepancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an amount that was owed to him the next day, which we would have paid, and they took the store from us and the accounts and everything else. So they make it sound like it sounds really fishy, right? When they go, there's a big discrepancy. Yeah, there's a big responsibility financially that BAM took.
Yeah.
That's the discrepancy. Right. They need to pay him.
Well, and that's
So do you think that you sold that much of his collection that he was never paid for? Like they're saying 47,000. Would you say that that's correct? Yeah. Or
I mean,
there's people online saying no, they U-hauled a bunch of that stuff out of there, and the Gormans were shown the door and they never got a chance to pay Bryan.
I genuinely have no idea. I just got that point of sale thing yesterday. And so one of those things that I need to do is actually, it's all out of order by date. One of those things I need to do is I've created a copy of it so that I can actually go through and go by date and see what was sold November 14th back 3 months. And then I'll actually be able to like have a genuine idea. And this is all predicated on the fact that those are authentic sales tickets. And they're actually tickets from the correct, they're not sales tickets from just like other Star Wars stuff.
Well, and that's
so I genuinely, like, people want an answer. I don't know. All of this stuff had corporate come in and actually done like a full accounting and a reconciliation and an inventory. Like all of that would have been answered, right? Or
that's the
all of that would have been.
Make sure people understand.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't know, it's because corporate has decided to prevent us from knowing.
And they also waited a year and a half to try to figure it out.
Right. And at some point they're going to say, "Well, just trust us." And I hope folks out there, people can make up their own minds. Do you trust BAM based on their behavior?
Right.
I don't.
Sure.
Right. Well,
no doubt. No doubt.
Also, like Bryan's consignment would have come to an end in 2 months, right? Anything that the store owed him, any of the sets that were left, all would have been returned to him in 2 months, and that was
never was.
Yep.
Well, and that was in the consignment agreement that corporate got out of the store's email. They knew when it would have ended. They knew. Again,
not an attorney, but I think it makes it very straightforward. Hey, BAM, regardless of what's sitting in that closed store, give him the full value of the consignment. Just pay the man. You owe him.
And at this point,
a year and a half to do an investigation.
Right, to start investigating the collection you stole and should have inventoried the next day.
Yeah. When the whole public is in an uproar about it at this point, now it's like, okay, now we're going to do an investigation. Because they're kind of being forced to.
And speaking of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But at this point, who knows where the Mansell collection is?
Oh, it's
I don't want to speculate about where it is.
We can't speculate, except the very little we know includes the fact that this former customer of yours finally did get his layaway set, which means we know some of it
Walker
was
did
sold.
get it. Yeah.
Right.
It's
gone out there into the world.
Bryan has talked about, he sent a friend of his in, like shortly after, to buy one of the sets, and it still had the yellow sticker on it.
And he was able to purchase it.
And he was able to purchase it.
So we know they were selling it.
And then there was a woman who posted an Instagram reel a couple of months later. And you can very clearly see sets that were, I can't prove that they were the same, like from the collection, but those sets were rare enough.
Right. Rare sets with the same set numbers were still for sale.
It seems highly unlikely that the store would have taken in, 10 or 20 of those same sets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
So there's that might be some of the discrepancy too. They might be messing their dates up a little bit in that PR. Who knows?
Well, and that's what I'd like to, not only, I'd like to also see the sales tickets from after November 14th, right? To when the store closed down. I want to see those sales tickets. But as people have pointed out, the Salem store went cash only. You can see the sign on the door in Ben's video, went cash only. There's very few reasons why you would go cash only for more than a day.
A lot harder to track stuff when it's cash only.
Because we had a backup You have your credit card reader that is that is with the POS system, but you always have a backup, right? Particularly if there's an extended outage. I can't speculate as to why, but
another thing, I believe this is public knowledge now, is if somebody purchased a set online through the Salem store,
it's in our lawsuit. Yeah,
they were redirecting those sales through the Eugene store.
Yeah.
So that means if somebody wanted to buy one of Bryan's sets from the Salem store, that sale would have gone through the Eugene store.
Yeah, if you clicked on the shop online button, actually, if you still go on the Salem website and click the shop online button, it takes you to the Eugene Shopify page.
Which is the store that Josh and Brandon own, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the U-Haul took a trip there.
Josh and Brandon have only owned that Eugene store for a couple of years. I would be really interested to find out details about how
they acquired that one too, right?
Yeah, and as far as I know, that store's still in operation today.
I believe from the last state of Oregon registration that I saw, it had been re-registered in an LLC under Matt McNeff's name with a couple other corporate employees. So according to the state of Oregon's business registry, Josh and Brandon are no longer involved.
Wow.
That's usually what happens when a store is reverted back to corporate ownership. Is the LLC is then reverted back to Matt or Ammon.
So Benjamin came out with a video talking about another store in Clackamas County. We have our friend, the Last Relic, who had his store seized and taken over by Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson in Lutz, Florida. So there seems to be a bigger pattern. When you guys heard the Last Relic story about what happened to his store in Florida, how did you react to that? And does that situation seem familiar to you?
I mean, our immediate reaction was, wow, that sounds very familiar.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And that was my response when I read about what happened in Canby, the store that's in Clackamas County. The Canby store, their experience, I mean, there are differences, certainly, but there are a pattern of similarities, and I leave it to people to judge, but it sure looks like that's, as one commenter said, that's not a pattern, that's a business model.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
that
it seems like it.
People are alleging.
Well, in the Canby store, I don't know how much I can say about it. The Canby store I've known about for, since last year.
But we did not know that we learned a lot from the lawsuit. Reading the lawsuit.
I'd never actually, I hadn't read
that's what went down there.
I hadn't read the lawsuit, but I did testify in the case last year.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right. So are you aware of any other BAM owners or former BAM owners with similar stories that we don't know about?
That we can talk about?
Yes.
Well, you don't have to mention their name or their location. You could literally just say, yes, I do know. There are more. There are more of us.
Yeah.
I am in conversation with 3 previous store owners.
Wow. Okay.
4, actually. Sorry, 4.
Not including what happened in Lutz, Florida, or Clackamas County.
Or California. Yes, correct.
Okay. All right.
4 previous franchise owners.
All right. That's breaking right here, guys. Like that's big.
Yeah. So that's literally like 7 that we know of.
Two of whom I have agreed they do not want to be named. They do not want anything made public. They have experienced devastating financial effects from it and have filed for bankruptcy. One of them lost their house and are still trying to recover, and still in a precarious legal position.
Wow.
One of the other ones is we may hear from soon. Well, we may hear from at some point.
We're hopeful that this person will come forward.
Different person.
Oh, a different one. The other one. We're hopeful one may come forward.
They reached out to me to ask if I could put them in contact with Coffeezilla after they heard something on Coffeezilla's video that they wanted to discuss.
Okay.
And I passed along that contact information, which is really freaking surreal, by the way. Can I just take a moment to say the fact that I have a phone number saved in my phone that just says Coffeezilla, and at one point found myself just like, hold on, I'll text him.
Yeah.
This whole thing has been
wild.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even I'm sorry. It's still just kind of still just kind of
crazy.
blows my mind. It's weird. Sorry. That it's so surreal. The fourth one, I am fairly confident we will hear more from publicly soonish.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Okay.
it's up to the person to decide.
It's crazy to me to think that the people that don't want anything to come out public, they had to file bankruptcy, one lost their house. If I could speak to them, I'd be like, this is exactly why you need to come out publicly, because the public is behind people that are getting screwed over, and the public is in full support of you and could possibly help you in this situation, and for you to not come out. And again, I don't know the exact situation. There might be a specific reason why they really can't, but I hope that more people come out and let the public support them in this whole thing, because the court of public opinion right now is on y'all's side, on the people's side that's been screwed over by corporate before, and they need support.
I agree with you, but I think there's two things. So there's fear of the cost, right? And if somebody has already lost their business, potentially lost their home, and they're looking down the barrel of incredible legal expenses, like we don't know how we're going to pay our legal expenses, and we've got to go fund me.
Well, and
right? They're mounting so fast.
Which we do want to promote y'all's GoFundMe. It will be in the link of the description of this video, guys.
So I think that's part of it, but I think the other part of it's just trauma. It's a trauma response. It is so awful to have to deal with somebody showing up in the middle of the night and saying, "I'm taking your business, and if you tell anybody, I'm going to get you."
Yeah.
That some people are going, I never want to think about that anymore.
Exactly. Get away from it completely. Never go back there in your mind. I totally get that.
I think if they they could get a lot of public support right now, but I also feel like they might just be like, I can't even revisit that trauma.
That's definitely a factor of it. It's also NDAs and additional litigation that they could face.
Because when they do the termination, they pass this document to you and they say, if you don't sign this, we're going to sue you for hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever. And some folks sign that and they're going, I can't talk about how I was forced to sign this.
And this is the paper you guys refused to sign, right?
You just said, no way, we're not signing that.
There's wording in the franchise agreement, and there's wording in the termination agreement that if you exit your franchise agreement, the one that we signed was for 5 years. There are various length ones I've come to understand. But there's terminology in there that if you exit your franchise agreement for any reason before that 5 years is up, then you have to pay corporate all of the royalties that you would have paid them during that remainder. So if you've operated the store for a year, then you have to pay them based on that year's sales, what you would have paid in royalties for the next 4 years, all at once. Which is why corporate keeps coming out and saying, we were $200,000 in debt. Yeah, because you want to tack on more than $100,000 in fines, right?
Yeah.
to the debt that you created, essentially.
Yeah, which you did not have. To be clear, you guys didn't have any of this before they took over, right? You didn't have any of these fines or...
So I mean, and this is all publicly available in our lawsuit. There were issues with rent being paid because they never signed over the lease to us, right? So the landlord would reach out to them, and that would not get communicated in time, and then we would get $1,000 late fee tacked on, which when you are a small business adds up, right? Yeah. And then we purchased the store on a promissory note, right? We paid a down payment and then monthly payments. And then the royalty fees, those royalty fees, monthly payments, what we were catching up on the rent, all that was coming out of one bank account that corporate did not, they got the notice. I got the notice and called them and said, hey, there's a notice from the bank saying the name on the bank ownership and the name on the store doesn't match, and they're going to freeze the accounts if you don't go in and deal with it. And they said, okay, we'll deal with it. And then I got calls saying, hey, your payments are bouncing because they'd frozen the bank account. And then Ben and I had to go in there in person and figure out, okay, we need to get the bank account unfroze and get Matt and Ammon's names off of the account. So meanwhile, I've got payments to vendors and rent payments and royalty payments and promissory note payments bouncing, and then fees tacked on to all of those.
And that never should have happened.
We're never
in the contract. They were supposed to take care of that before we took over the store.
So we've never disputed that we've never disputed that there was money owed them, right? We've never disputed that. It's right there in our lawsuit. What is also in our lawsuit is all of the money that we owed them was because of things that they had failed to do when they sold us the store, right?
And so again,
so you accumulated this, but it was because of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
they had also agreed to take payments to make up for that. They were taking payments from me to make up for those missed stuff while the bank and the all of that, which is also the fact that the lease was never signed over was how they were able to get us out of the store in the first place.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't understand that. They're going, why did you just stay? We didn't have the lease. And Kai even says in that recording, we still have the lease. That's weird. I don't know why that is.
We will call the police and have them trespass you.
We're gonna use that as the mechanism to get you out of your own store.
But see, the last relic still had his lease, but they just abandoned the store and left him with all the lease payments, and he owed like $500,000.
$500,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because it was a corporate location before we bought it, corporate had the lease. And so they were supposed to reach out to the landlord and have the landlord approve signing the lease over to us. We've signed that paperwork in our franchise agreement. They just never sent it on to the landlord. But then corporate also in that $200,000 that they're in debt, right? Their whole claim of they were $200,000 in debt and they wanted to abandon the store and flee the country, right? So you're adding on over $100,000 in fines to that and claiming it's in debt when your termination agreement itself says, if you hand over the store, we're not going to pursue you for any of that, right? So it's also in our lawsuit that they still have that promissory note. They could call in that promissory note at any time. Part of what is in our franchise agreement is they are supposed to return that promissory note to us and have not. So our attorney is like, they could literally file that and have it and then have taken everything and still claim we owe them more, right? Even though in their termination agreement, they say, we're going to call this even, right?
Mm-hmm. But we're going to call this even is that super sketchy behavior of like, hey, we've made up fines. We're threatening you with fines. Give us your entire store or else the fines kick in, right?
That's what they did to Relic. Yeah.
We also have Kai on the phone that night saying, you reached out to us to sell the store.
Yeah, they know for a fact we were not going to abandon it. They know
we weren't going to abandon it.
So
we
every
have
time
Kai
they say
on
that,
the phone saying,
we thought they were going to declare bankruptcy or abandon the store.
Yeah.
Not only is that not true, but they knew it was not true.
Yeah,
when they
Kai
that,
is
they
on
are
the
lying.
phone saying, you guys wanted to sell the store. And so we just feel like this is the best way to go about it.
That one I'll go out, and a little more on a limb and say, that is just a lie.
Yeah.
Like that, they could say you're defaming us, and I will say, here is your employee recorded on audio saying that he was aware. that we were interested in selling the store.
And the whole reason why we wanted to move the
lie.
store, like the whole reason why we wanted to sell the store is because we planned to move. Like, it's not like we were going to abandon the store, or some of what I've heard is that we stole Bryan's Legos and then fled the country.
Yeah.
But like, do you have any idea how much it would have cost to get that size of a collection to Europe?
To Spain?
And Bryan Mansell has never even come within 1 million yards of saying something like that.
It took us $4,000 to get our dogs to Europe.
Right.
Right? Our tiny 30-pound dogs. Our 90-pound dog. Can you imagine?
Yeah, boxes of Lego. We did not take any boxes of Lego to Europe.
Ugh.
So, do you guys know of any other stores that's been taken over by Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson?
No.
Do you? I don't.
I don't.
Well, I mean, the ones we know of that were taken over, we don't know if they were taken over by them. We don't know.
Well,
who was responsible.
So we know the one in Lutz, Florida was.
Not entirely. Three of them had never interacted with Brandon or Josh. Mm-hmm. One of them had interacted with Josh. And then
So this pattern may predate Brandon and Josh.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So people online, guys, are using the term franchise churning.
I'd never heard this until after I posted my video. People were like, that sounds like franchise churn. And I was like, I better look that up.
Exactly. Yep. And we're getting comments, churn. So just in case that's new to people watching the interview, it's a predatory business practice where a franchisor intentionally hastens the failure of a franchisee in order to seize the location or terminate the agreement.
And all the assets.
Yeah.
They're taking the assets.
And it sounds to me like the very fact that there's a name for it and that it is against the law means this is like the kind of thing where somebody could like research the scam. Like this is an established scam in the same way we know what a pyramid scheme is, right?
But you also
franchise churn is a thing, and I'd never heard of it before, and I'm like, oh, now I know what to call the thing that we very well may be a victim of.
So that's the question. Do you think that term fits what you have kind of experienced, in your opinion?
I believe at this point we'll decline to comment on that.
We can say that our personal experience is consistent with what is described when people describe the experience of a franchisee who experiences franchise churn. Fair. But we can only speak to our experience.
I will say somebody has made online every single franchise disclosure document available going all the way back. And it would be really interesting if somebody out there on the internet went through and looked at all the locations to see how often a location changed hands. Yeah. Because that's listed in every franchise disclosure document. The stores that changed hands in 2023, between 2023 and 2024, and 2024 and 2025 in particular, are very interesting. The rate of failure is suspiciously high from my understanding of statistically speaking.
Yeah, and a lot of people online right now are calling for the FBI and Cash Patel and them to get involved and investigate them.
Yeah.
And I wish that would happen.
So one store looks like it could be isolated. It's one.
Yeah.
But two stores, okay, I got some questions. And now 3 stores, I think we have a pattern here. And now what you guys are telling me is the number 7,
right?
Potentially. So that is definitely an interesting way to look at this, and we're going to see. I mean, guys, this could blow up into an even bigger, much bigger ordeal than what's happened with you guys. What's happened with Bryan Mansell and his Lego collection. This could be something way bigger than that, because it looks like if there's more revealed there. Woo! If franchise turning is really happening, if 37 stores come forward saying, "Look what happened to us from this corporation," man, that is going to be an interesting tale to watch unfold.
I'd also be really hesitant if I were. I feel bad for the franchise locations that haven't even opened yet, right? That have signed their agreements and are locked in. I mean, Nick, you were talking earlier about like why don't more former owners, right?
Yeah,
We're saying the same thing about like why aren't franchises stepping away from the brand, right? Like there's a reason. You're facing fines, right? Imagine going into debt $50,000, $100,000 to buy your store, and then saying, "Okay, we're going to come in, and now you owe us all of that, plus we're going to double it in fines, and shut you down, right? And then force you into an NDA and force you to spend a couple $100,000 on attorney's fees and all that." I have all the sympathy, like I have sympathy for all the franchise owners. I imagine there are a lot of people that are waiting to see what happens to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because as far as I am aware right now, we are the only people that are suing Bricks and Minifigs corporate.
Yeah.
So that's actually a great segue here. You guys you went through a time where you didn't need to speak. You know, you had a couple of weeks where we're figuring this out and we're not making public statements right now.
Yeah.
So much has happened. You guys thought this was something that nobody was ever going to know about. Nobody's ever going to help us. And then all of a sudden, this thing explodes, man.
Yeah.
There are so many people that have been on this story. We've been covering it. So
All
many
over
people
the
are
world.
covering it. It's all over the countries all around the world. Nick's exactly right. We're getting messages from people in like Italy.
Australia,
A
Italy.
movie in another town. We took my son to go see a movie, and he's at a university, so we were at his, college town. And somebody yelled across the parking lot just based on seeing us.
Brick by brick.
They yelled, expletive Bricks and Minifigs.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty funny.
And I was just like, what is, this is
we
wild.
ran it. We were going through the Portland airport and just crossed paths with somebody who was also jumping on a plane. Who was like, "Wait, aren't you?"
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're nobodies, right? There's
we're people who got our store taken.
We did not have any kind of voice. If I had made a video about what happened a year and a half ago, nobody would have seen it, right?
Yeah.
And then I can speculate about what would have happened. Corporate would have come out and immediately sent a TRO and tried to sue us, right?
Right.
And so it was one of those, like, we did not have any kind of platform for anything. So we've been existing for, a year and a half, just kind of going, we're not making any progress. They're not coming to the table. They're not doing mediation. They're not having conversations with us. They are avoiding everything, to where we got to the point where we finally had to have a conversation with our lawyer of like, no, let's file the lawsuit. Right. And so then, now they're we want mediation.
Now they want to talk.
Now they want to talk. Now they want to come to the table and deal.
The question is, are they going to be serious? Like, do they show up to talk and go, "Hi, we're here, kick rocks"?
Wait, did you change?
Yeah, one of our subscribers made me and Coach one of these.
I was going to say, did you just change your hat?
Yeah, so
this is a real shirt that was made by Bricks and Minifigs itself for an event that they did, and now it feels a little different.
That's awesome.
Minifigs, roll for initiative.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We did an online D&D game where all the stores across the company hosted D&D, and then we streamed it between all the stores, and so they got shirts.
So I was like, I should wear that shirt. It means a little something different now.
Yeah, for sure.
Enter combat.
Our meetup that we had.
We made this one when we went to Brick World.
Yes, Schrodinger's U-Haul.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't see the bottom, but it says looks like a bookshelf to me, but sure.
That is funny. So
the meetup we had in Nashville, I wore this there and had several people approach me and ask me about it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many people talking about it. So what would you like to say to all the people who have been supporting you guys, everybody coming over from the Reckless Ben side of things, the public
and to the people
watching,
that really come after you too in a negative.
And to the other franchise owners right now.
Right.
There are, I mean, first, there's always going to be people that dislike you, right? Yeah. There's going to be people that dislike me. There's going to be people that believe everything that corporate is saying. That's inevitable, and I can't let myself lose sleep about it, right? It's difficult because I am, Ben and I are both chronic people pleasers, but
so I'm like, oh no, this person hates me, and then I'm like,
this person doesn't like me,
with
right?
these numbers,
we know all about that all too well here on our show.
Oh yes, we do.
Yeah. But to the people that have been supportive and so amazingly generous with the GoFundMe, like, I don't even know how you say thank you enough.
Like,
right?
I put out a show every week, and I've just been like, I've got like a portion of the show every week that's just thank you to all of these people who've been so amazing, and just letting those folks know how much that has meant to us.
Which we're also going to link Benjamin's channel in the description below as well, guys. So their GoFundMe will be listed there as well as his channel. So you guys definitely go.
Yeah, check it out. It's been fun. I've been writing, so I'm a novelist. So that's one of the things that we've kind of joked about is like for years I've been writing books, and now I'm famous for having my store stolen, and it's like. Yeah. Why couldn't I, kind of connect it to these folks through my books? But I've been writing this book that is about kind of a character who is going through the same thing. So it's like a way for people to kind of get some insight. So that's been fun, especially when we felt like we were not allowed to say anything. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, well, the character is suing Megacorp. We all know what that means, So but now I've got characters who are based on like Coffeezilla, and I have Reckless Ken, the magical Billy Goat, so I'm
that's great.
You could literally write a movie script on this whole situation and sell it to Netflix or somebody.
I try to describe to people what's going on in my life, and I'm just like, it sounds made up.
Right.
It just, it sounds, because, as every like normal people, right? I'm not normal. I don't like normal. Normal stuff. I don't like to say that, right?
That normal,
average people that aren't famous or well known.
I mean, right. Yeah, normal is overrated.
Middle class.
But like you see things like this happen. These stories go viral, and you watch it from the outside. And it just seems so like, but to be living inside of that it's really a weird, like my therapist has been like, we've been chatting. Because I have this thing that my therapist calls the fear of being perceived. And if there's anybody that's watching this that is like, yes, I also hate buffets, that's what you have. I basically always exist under the belief that people are watching and judging me. I hate buffets. He has to get all the food, and then I eat off of his plate. Buffets are my nightmare. I hate them.
And now there really are hundreds of thousands of people watching.
I talk to my therapist because every time that we've talked about this notion of being like judged by everybody that I see, she's always been like, just remind you that you're not out there judging people when you see them. Like, it's not real. It's basically like a therapist speak of like, it's all in your head and it's not real. Right. Yeah. After all of this, I had an appointment, and I was like, it's not real. Right. And she's like, in your case now. And she was just like, the sense of irony I've never experienced with a client before. So I can amuse my therapist out of all of this, which is fun. Right. But it's just the sheer amount of attention and support, like people living in our apartment complex. We had somebody brand new moving in and goes, hey, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, it's so wild. Like, it's really kind of crazy.
Some folks who are putting in an incredible amount of time and effort.
Who,
they weren't big time YouTubers. They weren't investigative journalists. They were just like, this is clearly wrong, and I want to learn more about it. And they have been research, doing the like red pin, on the wall.
The BJC live show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her.
Right?
She's doing the whole chart and putting all the pieces together.
Yeah.
Like
we are still. I mean, in some cases, the things those
sending
folks have
things
found
to our attorneys
have then gone to our attorney and will be used in our case. So I'm so grateful for folks who are doing that research. It really will make a difference.
Excellent.
The internet will find out everything for you.
Right?
Oh yeah, no, it's been amazing, and I'm like Ben's on YouTube more than I. YouTube's not really my particular. I'm more of a TikTok because I don't like to script and I don't like to edit, and that just listen, what comes out is what you get, and that's it. Drives him crazy. Right?
I'm like, we need to clip that.
So I'm Reddit because then I can think about the words that I'm typing, or TikTok because nobody cares. And so for me, Reddit has been it's been a weird. Reddit has been for me just like my kind of a mental health cleanse, right? Because there's a couple of particular subreddits where I can just go on there and the support in there and the comments and the messages that I'm getting.
The memes they're posting, the memes, so great.
The very first time I saw my own face as a meme was crazy. And then what was even crazier is my husband took a meme of my face and posted it on Facebook, which is this weird level of inception that is just weird.
It's definitely been a roller coaster of a journey for you guys, I'm sure.
It really
miserable, and then there've certainly been highs, and we know it's going to be long.
And there, it is very much like
because they could drag this thing out for
or like the week and a half, the 2 weeks that we had to wait for Coffeezilla's video to come out was like that was like we had this up of oh my gosh, that went so great, like right, but we didn't see any of the other side of it. Yeah. Any of the corporate stuff, the messages, the photos, any of that stuff. We watched that along with everybody else. Like I watched that on his Patreon. Yeah. We only know what like our side of it was.
Right.
That was very
and so that time period of waiting, it very similar with the time period of waiting for like Reckless Ben's first video to come out and then his second video to come out. And now we're back there, not so much with the third.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there. Yeah. But there's been these.
We are excited about the third. That's all we can say.
Everybody's excited to see part 3.
Can't wait. The world stops spinning when he drops that third video.
It's going to be big, folks. Check that one out.
I can't wait.
I'm excited to see what happens with that.
It's going to be wild.
But it's definitely like it's this emotional roller coaster. Yeah. And then it's a really weird thing because we're dealing with the legal side of it, right? Yeah. Is weekends are weird, right? Because they're so quiet.
Courts aren't in session, right? The lawyers aren't working. So weekends go dead, but YouTube's still going.
Yeah. Right? And so there's this like I can finally relax on the weekend because I don't have to worry about like, are they going to put a restraining order on us? Are they going to do this? Right. Are they going to do like, there's this kind of like little sense of a calm on the weekend, but also like my job is I don't work like a Monday through Friday. And so, I'm still working a 40-hour week.
She's a manager, of course, management. Yeah. That's what she does, right? But the place where she works, you got to have a manager on staff on the weekends. Yeah. So her days off are like Tuesday or Thursday or, whatever. So her schedule.
And so I'm like in between. And then I work, anybody that works retail. I might be in management in retail, but it's still retail, right? Like you have morning shifts and then evening shifts. And so I'm either like, it happened to be really weird the other day. I was sitting in the parking lot at work waiting to go into work and I was able to jump on, what's his name? Luss?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like his Luce?
Is it Luce or Luss? I don't actually know.
Like,
you know what I'm talking about?
I just say L-U-S. I'm not sure how he pronounces it. Super nice guy.
The comments on his live for a few minutes before I had to go into work. And so then I have the, a couple hours before work and after work where I'm frantically going through and seeing, okay, what are the notifications? What are the new videos that have come out? What are the new, right?
Every day it's something.
Recording line.
Yeah. Every morning.
We have. Oh yeah.
Guys, look, thank you. It goes without saying, we're pulling for you. Yeah. Please keep us updated. on anything happening, and it doesn't matter if it's 6 months from now, if it's being dragged out or whatever. But
because we want to keep the story alive, and we want to keep people's interest in this, because we feel that this is an important story for people in the whole world to know about. With not only the corrupt, corporate, shenanigans that we're seeing
allegedly,
and the American Fork Police Department, which we have not forgotten about.
Definitely
which you guys have not really have any direct involvement with.
No, we don't have any involvement with them, but I think it speaks to. I mean, this story is emblematic of other things, and I think that's why it's resonating so much with so many people. They're saying
bullying and corruption.
Corporations are able to treat people.
The little guy.
Frustrated with the way police are able to treat people. So I think it's keying in on something that a lot of people feel.
That's like a deeper corruption, right?
Yeah.
So we will we'll come back when we have updates. So we'd love to be on again.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us. That's the Gormans. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. Everything to support them is in the description on this video. Thanks for watching. We are Echo Base Network. It's been a long one. We appreciate you watching, guys. See you in the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.